Does history exist? Official history claims that it does. According to it, humans evolved from apes and, through a process of improvement, reached their current state. Currently, alternative history and its followers refute scholars and assert that the true history is being concealed from us. Only individuals lacking critical thinking can believe what is written in history textbooks. However, these alternative historians do not go beyond criticism. They cannot present their own worldview. Therefore, year after year, they investigate historical mysteries and ridicule official historians. To determine whether history exists or not, let's examine a few points. The beginning of civilization. Humans had already descended from trees but had not ventured far from apes when, suddenly, they decided to engage in agriculture. This is what historians claim. What prompted this idea is unknown. How could they desire something about which they had no knowledge? They didn't know where to get seeds, how to plant trees, when to harvest, or what to do afterward. How to prepare flour and bake bread. Nevertheless, they gathered their tribe of fellow beings and explained to them that they would now become farmers and work hard to earn their bread. Can you imagine the shock of the tribe, which had been feasting on bananas just a minute ago and was now faced with the necessity of cutting down trees and tilling the soil? But the leader added that they would plow the land using wild horses, which the males would go out to capture, while the females would take branches to dig or plow the land. Today, the norm is to hectares. Do you like this picture? But this is how historians explain it, of course, using more sophisticated words. I don't know about you, but I personally have never seen monkeys preoccupied with catching horses for domestication, and imagining monkeys trying to dig the soil with sticks is beyond belief. They sit on their branches and eat bananas. Well, that's okay, we can just laugh about it. But it becomes less funny later. Civilization faces an obstacle that shatters the entire idea of further development: metal. That's it, we can close the history textbooks and focus on other things. Explaining the appearance of metal in ancient humans is impossible, and without it, they, unfortunately, cannot make a plow, cultivate the land, shoe horses, and perform many other tasks. How and from what to make metal is another question. The main thing is, where could ancient humans even know about the existence of such a solid element as metal in nature? Even if someone showed them a piece of iron, how would they understand that it can be practically created from the earth using a complex technological process? They couldn't. Presumably, enlightenment reached the primitive humans, and they understood that they needed bronze, for which they first had to mine copper and tin. Said and done. They gathered their tribe, and off they went to search for copper ore. They took sticks aside, knowing that they had to dig up tons of this stuff. And the leader wondered where to find ore and how to remove sulfuric arsenic and tungsten from it. And coal was needed, limestone, those furnaces, and much more, but they had only a single club in their hands. And if we look at a later period, ancient Rome, Greece, all those Spartans, Julius Caesars, all that beautiful, spectacular nonsense that never existed. Everything was already made of metal there. Armor, swords, shields, ships with metal rams. A whole metallurgical industry must have been working, but what is needed to produce metals? On an industrial scale. Mines, coal mines, excavators, and other equipment, railways, metallurgical plants, and rolling mills, in other words, engineering, chemistry, and much more. But if all of this exists, why swing swords and shoot bows? With metals, everything is clear. Now let's look at the wars of an even later period. We are told that wars took place on Earth all the time. I have heard that over thousands of years there have been 3,000 wars on Earth. Historians have counted them. Wars did happen, but not in the way they are portrayed in history. Let's take a look at one of them, the war with Napoleon in 1812. We will not discuss the actual fighting in this war, which, of course, did not happen. Instead, let's focus on the logistical aspect of Napoleon's army. Let's calculate how many horses were in Napoleon's army. The army consisted of approximately 600,000 men, including 100,000 cavalrymen, so we already have 100,000 horses. Besides them, there were horses carrying ammunition, provisions, and ammunition for them. Napoleon's army had 1370 artillery pieces, and 4 to 6 horses were required to transport one cannon, plus another 10 horses to transport gunpowder and shells for the same cannon. So, to transport all the guns and ammunition to them, we would need 20,000 horses. As for provisions, approximately 100,000 tons were needed for 6 months. To transport this, we would need about 200,000 horses. And then there are ammunition, field kitchens, firearms, ammunition, tents, and much more, which would require an additional 10,000 horses. In total, this amounts to 332,000 horses. Now the most interesting thing is to feed them. To feed one horse, you need 20 kilograms of feed per day. To feed all these horses, we would need about 400,000 tons of fodder. But someone has to carry it, which would require another 800,000 horses. And 29 million tons of food would be needed to feed them. Will we continue? We can also ask how to provide water for these horses, how to ferry this huge army across rivers, where to find such an unimaginable amount of food. Supplies and shoes, you will need 1 million pairs. Who did all this? Do you still believe in Napoleon? Do you know which weapon is the best against the enemy? Calculator and elementary logic, when they are used, all great wars collapse like houses of cards. Now, I want to continue and delve into the topic of clothing, something familiar to us. We never think about when and how it originated. It seems that clothing has always existed, although historians claim that primitive humans initially walked naked and only later began to wear animal skins. Let's assume that's true, but when did they start wearing woven fabric? Probably when fabric itself appeared. But to this question, like many others, scientists wave it off. It doesn't matter. It somehow appeared and that's it. Why bother? In reality, this is very important, as without an answer to this simple question, the entire history crumbles like a house of cards. Although we've already debunked this house, let's consider a few more aspects of history. So, fabric. What do we see? A tribe of apes living in caves suddenly decides to dress in finely woven clothing, despite having no concept of the existence of fabric. Of course, it's easy for apes to create fabric. All they need to do is find suitable plants like flax, cotton, or hemp. Let's say they choose flax since it's abundant in the forest, and apes are well aware of its appearance. Next, they'd have to collect flax seeds, let's say around 500 kilograms. Then, prepare them for planting and find a suitable field, clearing the land of trees and bushes, plowing the soil, and sowing the seeds when and how. Apes know, after all, they have a natural instinct for farming now. They need to wait for the plants to mature. Flax needs to be harvested, dried, processed into threads, boiled, bleached, and then spun into yarn. After all this, they can weave on their loom. This is just a brief overview. In reality, fabric production is a labor-intensive and highly technological process. Nowadays, it would require dozens of devices and mechanisms to process flax. But for apes, it's easy. They can make do, create a loom from sticks, and weave fabrics. It's a pity they don't have scissors or needles. It would be challenging to make clothing without them. But this is not a problem. We have historians, let's ask them, and indeed, the answer is ready. Instead of needles, ancient people used fish bones. Give these scientists some bones and let them try to sew something. But, more seriously, what is necessary for textile production? Developed agriculture, textile factories, energy technologies, design institutes, engineers, skilled workers, and most importantly, all these components should appear at the same time, because without any of them, nothing will work. However, historians do not care about this. They don't want to see the obvious things, and their task is to fit all the research into one wild idea. Here's a clear example from our time. You all know that there are tribes cut off from civilization living on separate islands who have no intention of progressing. Some of these tribes have been living there for thousands of years, even up to our time. Let's take, for example, Sentinel Island, which you've probably heard of. They have no intention of smelting metal, sowing wheat, or weaving clothing. They shoot birds with bows and arrows or catch fish, eat their catch, and sleep. And there are many such tribes on Earth. So, why don't they progress? And why do they remain at the same level of development for thousands of years? Why don't scientists emerge among them who would have the intelligence to create metal or clothing? They still live in the Stone Age, using stone-tipped arrows and spears. And perhaps, as sad as it may sound, these people are not capable of more. Furthermore, if history were indeed accurate and humanity had gone through the Stone Age, we would still be in the Stone Age today. Understand that a person cannot create something for which they have no concept until they are shown or taught how it is done. Let's take a contemporary example. Imagine you have a clean white sheet of paper, and you need to draw something that doesn't exist on Earth yet. If you can't do it, Do you think scientists can? Look at how quickly a massive technological process has occurred. Just 30 years ago, we couldn't imagine things like tablets, iPhones, and electric cars. If a person can't create something they have no concept of, then who, you might ask, gave us the technology? That's a different question that we will explore in future videos. Subscribe to the channel and don't forget to enable notifications to be the first to watch my new videos. YouTube removes my videos and few people get to see them. You were with Professor Aristotle. Until our next meeting on the channel, bye.